welcome to another video in my MySQL Error series. In this video we are going to be exploring error 1452, which says I cannot update a row in a child table because a foreign key constraint fails. This is one of the most frustrating and confusing errors that students find as they're first encountering MySQL. So we are going to do a deep dive into not only primary and foreign keys today, but why this error occurs, how to fix it when it does happen, because I guarantee it will happen to you at some point, and how you're going to avoid that in the future. Hi there, so we are in MySQL at the moment, and I'm just going to walk you through the basic code that I am using to create the database and the tables, which are going to give us the basis for exploring that error 1452. So it's a super simple database, it's just a customers and sales database. So I'm going to start off with my create database statement, and then I'm going to tell MySQL that we need to use that database, otherwise it might work in another database if I've been using one before. Then we're going to create a table, which is our customers table. So this is our primary key table. This is going to contain our unique customers because a primary key defines a unique record. And in this case, our unique record is defined by the customer ID number. So let's execute this statement to create that table. Next up, we've got another table, which is our orders table. So this is the table that's going to contain our foreign key that references that primary key table. So our primary key, if we remember, is our customer ID in the customers table. And you see that we have another customer ID field here, which is exactly the same data type. And indeed, this is going to reference that table. And that is what makes this a foreign key. We haven't defined it as a foreign key in the create table statement. We're going to do that in just a moment with an alter table statement. So now that that table has been created, let's add this data, a really simple insert into statement, nothing special here at all. So now that I've added that data, let's just double check that it's there, and indeed it is. You can see it in the output pane. I'm just going to add a couple more rows of data, so change those ID numbers to 4, 5, and 6. Remember that these have to be unique because these are primary key columns and values here. So these all have to be unique. So we can't have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, because that would be confusing when we're referring to our customers. We're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So let's run that again, and that is going to insert my next 3 rows. Double check that that's gone off okay, and yes, we can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Brilliant. So now that we've added data to our customers table, let's go ahead and do exactly the same for our orders table. So we can see in this, and that query has just executed correctly, we can see that there is the customer ID field, and we've added this data, and we can see that we know that there are only customers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and actually there doesn't seem to be any issues with our data. We're not referring to any customers that don't exist at the moment. So let's hold that in our heads for the moment. So now we've got our 2 tables and we've added our data, it's time to add our foreign key constraint. We are doing this via an alter table statement, which adds this constraint, which in this case is a foreign key. Remember that primary keys and null and not null are also constraints. Now the syntax is a little funny. We start with the column that the foreign key is being added to in our home table, which is our orders table. That's referencing the customers table that we created earlier. And then afterwards, we tell it which is the kind of home table and home column where that primary key is located that we're referencing. So let's execute this statement, and we've got a green tick, which is great. That's what we want to see. So now we are going to demonstrate what the error that we are focusing on today is all about. So as you can see here, I've got a simple insert into statement. I am saying that I want to add an order ID 102. I want to give it the customer ID 11. Now let's think, we've only got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in our table at the moment. So I want you to predict in your head what's going to happen there. And then 2 other standard bits of data, the order item and the order amount. So let's see what happens when we try and execute this statement and see if your prediction is correct. Uh-oh, I've got that error code 1452. And the message that we get with that, if I just move my camera a little bit up, is cannot add or update a child row, a foreign key constraint fails. Now, this is because of this bit of data right here. Our customer ID 11 is not going to be allowed to be added because it doesn't match the data that we already have. If we head back up, we can see that our customer ID was only 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, and 6. If we do this quick select all statement, because here we have our customer ID, we can see that there is no customer 11. So let's go back and just prove that this isn't an error that's coming up for another reason. Let's change this to 001 and see what happens. Let's see if that order goes in okay. And lo and behold, it does. So if you get this error, please think about that customer ID column or whatever column it is that you are using as your foreign key column. Make sure that whatever piece of data, or if you're putting in multiple pieces of data, make sure all of them exist as primary key values in that home table where your primary key is located. Otherwise, you are going to get that error, because what it's doing here is enforcing referential integrity, the purpose of which is to make sure that we don't refer to anything in our database that doesn't exist already in a foreign key table. So what I mean here is that we don't want to reference a customer that doesn't exist. If you think about that from just a logistics point of view, that's a problem, because if you've got a customer that doesn't exist placing an order, we don't know where to send that order to. We don't know who to charge. We don't know what postal address we're going to use. None of that information is stored in our database. So this is a really useful use and implementation of a primary foreign key relationship, because it makes sure that we have all the data that we need in order to carry out the transaction that we are, which in this case is a sale. So that is error 1452. Hopefully you'll be able to diagnose how that problem comes up. One way to avoid it is just to make sure that your data is really consistent, whether that is just visually checking through or whether you're going to run some queries that return a list of your all of your primary and foreign keys, for example, in those tables, and comparing those two lists to see that they match up nicely. That's what you want. You want things to match up. So I hope that this has been a helpful video. We are going to finish up with this error for today. And hopefully when you guys encounter it, because everyone does at some point in the SQL career, you'll be able to diagnose it, understand it, and then fix it. Thanks for joining me today. I hope that that wasn't too much information all in one go. I know that primary and foreign keys are quite complicated and kind of new concepts if you're not familiar with relational databases. Next video is going to be a much more simple error. We are going to look at what happens when you get an error saying you can't update a piece of data in a table because you've got SQL safe updates on. Join me next time and we'll see how to avoid that error and fix it.